are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber woman, exclusively on ABC Amba TV.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonian woman. My name is Dr. Patience Abiedu, and I am your host for today's program. We have two exciting topics as usual. We will be talking about La République du Cameroon's agreement with France and the military implications. And we'll be also talking about real unity versus fake unity. Since the real unity versus fake unity is on the screen right now, let's start there because it's going to be brief, and then we'll focus on the next topic, which will be La République's military agreement with France. As usual, I start the program by saluting our Ambazonia State Army. They are there to defend our territory. They are there to protect our populations from La République du Cameroon. They are there to make sure that our boundaries remain our boundaries. I also want to greet our family members and friends who reside in neighboring La République du Cameroon because they were displaced due to the war and they've since lived there, that perhaps it's time to start deciding how to go back home and build Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. I want to shout out to our refugees that are in neighboring countries like Nigeria and Ghana and all over the world, that we are on this journey together. The sole goal is to one day have total control of our territory, to build it, understanding that every single human being wants the pursuit of happiness, and we'll do all we can to make sure that we achieve that goal. My guest today is a permanent guest that has been on this program over and over, none other than Dr. Fred Lobati. Doc, welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amber woman.
Thank you very much, Mape. I'm very happy to participate with you again in this program. We hope we'll have a fruitful visit and also informative program for our people today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, this topic, real unity versus fake unity, it's going to be very short. We don't really have much to talk about, but we'll focus on the second topic. So let's just get this one out of the way. I don't know if the video that I don't want to mention his name is ready to be played, but there was a video out there of Mark Barretta, I'll mention his name, talking about how they have had meetings with some who knows who, and decided that they want to come back to have a council, Skakuf 2, that's how he calls it. And because the time is ripe for us to come together to push this to an end. But if the video is on now, it's probably going to be a best time to put it on so we can listen and then we can comment.
Hail, hail, hail the land of glory. This is breaking news. Due to popular demands, due to the worries and cries from Ambazonians both on the ground and in the diaspora, and following in the footsteps of Ambazonian forces, where they have now decided to be known as unity warriors, where they are working across the board, and we are seeing the result. Ambazonians in the diaspora, the people in the diaspora, from activists to different groups, to all those who are willing to cooperate, to work together through a series of meetings over 4 weeks, have decided to come together in a new platform known as Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia United Front. After 3 hours of debate, of discussion, after 4 to 5 weeks of different meetings, after 4 to 5 weeks of consultation, Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia United Front is now born. And I want Ambazonians to look at this as what we had in the days of 2017, in the days of Skakuf. So the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia United Front is Skakuf 2.0. We have learned from our mistakes, and we've put in place credible structures, credible arms to ensure that the power, the decision, everything lies with you, the people. So it's a platform that will bring us together so that we can have one word in terms of communication, one word in terms of defense, one word in terms of diplomacy, which is very, 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 very important. And we are seeing what is happening in La République to Cameroon. They now have two presidents. They have two presidents. So we will have to take advantage of what is happening in Cameroon. So I'm calling on all Ambazonians. All Ambazonians, if you don't want your face to be known, you don't want to be known physically or whatever, there is space for you within the council. So Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia United Front, it has a national secretariat, it has a leadership council, it has a general assembly, and it has specialized committees. Ambazonians, this is the time for us to be united once and for all.
Yes, we need to share things like this to educate the people. I think it's very important to educate the people, because when people like Mark Barretta, who we used to respect in the days in 2017, because he really was there standing for Patasang, because Patasang, could not be the voice here in the diaspora. When they took advantage of the situation, and now they've left and come back and left and come back. So now the environment is ripe with what is going in La République du Cameroun. They've decided to come back, and with such a video. Let me ask you, Doc, what is he saying? That what are your thoughts about this video?
Well, it's very interesting. Not everything that sounds unity or oneness is authentic or is meant on good intentions. So one of the rare moments that we had true oneness among the Amazonian children was on September 22nd of 2017. I don't know whether people remember. As things came to a head and we were preparing towards the actualization or pronouncement of our independence by Ayuk Tabe, on September 22nd of 2017, people came out in their masses, over 2 million, all across the land of Amazonia, cleaning their compounds like you're preparing for a ceremony, whether it's a wedding or a funeral, swept the streets and came out en masse holding peace plans and marched all over the country in big cities as well as in rural areas. Grandmothers, grandfathers, frail, including dogs, came out with peace plans around their necks. At that time, La République was shocked because they thought, wow, they thought this thing was just some kind of noise, but look how massively the people have come out in oneness. That was when the governor of the Southwest region came out and started calling us dogs and said they would teach us a lesson. And then La République prepared the military to attack us. And as you know, on October 1 of 2017, Ayuk Tabe pronounced the independence of the children of Amazonia to actualize it. And since then, La République has been attacking our people with helicopter gumshoes and killing us. That was a time when everybody came out in honesty, in good faith, with clean hearts to be one.
Yeah.
Since then, things have fractionated. La République has been fighting to kill and catch, kill, and destroy. If they cannot kill you, they bribe you. And they have sought out the people who were vocal in the diaspora as well as even on the mainland, and killed some and tried to buy off others, give them money, and compromise their consciences, make some to pretend that they're speaking for Amazonia. La Republic has even created its own so-called Amba fighters who go around talking in the name of Amazonia and basically confusing our people and terrorizing them. And as you know, you had one time one PT who was very successful in basically destroying La Republique du Cameroon in Ketunjia. La Republique was frightened, and they lured him and tricked him into what they call unity warriors. At the time, he went to Bui division and tried to align himself with the Bui fighters. And what we realized is that they lured him into that and then finished him off, and then eventually killed him. So we have all kinds of tendencies in here. You have people who are self-centered. They think so highly of themselves. They think they want to be something important. So they speak loudly so that they will be noticed and hope that they will accomplish their goals that way. Then you have some that have been literally compromised by being bought off by La Republique du Cameroon. They have been given money and they are being guided from behind the scenes to confuse us. People like Capo Daniel, you may have heard about him, how Bankwi and others were talking to him in the background. Even people like Chris Anu Bankwi himself has confessed how he was working with him and even given the information that he probably assisted in the picking up of the Naira 10 in Nigeria and so many other people. But they will still come out and pretend to be talking on behalf of the children of Amazonia. So what I'm trying to bring out here is that not everybody who seems to call for oneness is authentic and genuine. Some of them are guided and led by La République du Cameroon and literally behind the scenes by the French to catch and kill. That means lure them together pretentiously that they are one, then once they are together, finish them off. So that the French will continue doing their mischief on our land. Remember that the goal of the French is to have an Africa without Africans. That's what the French ambassador in Niger said. If you don't understand that goal, you wouldn't know what the French are doing. They want to have an Africa without Africans. And so they don't care killing all of our people. So anyway, they have compromised a lot of people. And some are speaking while working with La Republique, while working with the French. And some may not be working with the French, may not have even if any financial benefits, but they're just thinking of themselves, feeling very important, thinking that maybe they have some academic titles and they're relying on that and think that it gives them a reason to speak and be noticed and things like that. So no, but yet you have the genuine, the authentic, the truthful, and it's there. And they have been attempting to find a way to get close to it, to destroy it. They try to pretend that there was a meeting going to take place in Canada, hoping that the authentic government will go there and then they will bribe them with large sums of money or even poison them. But by the grace of God, the leadership has refused to go there. They have tried in so many different ways. And sometimes the multiple different fractions of enemies of the authentic can come together as one in order to accomplish their goal of destroying the authentic. What I mean is, people may hate the good governance for different reasons, personal reasons, maybe led by La République du Cameroon. And all those groups can come together as one so that they can put their forces together to destroy the authentic. I think that is what is happening here with these so-called unity warriors recently. They're just trying to find ways to come together. Partially, La Republique is in there. Some people have selfish tendencies. They may have thought that because of the elections in La Republique du Cameroon where Chiroma won, they think that there will be a change and they want to use it to come forward. So that's what I think about it. That's what I would say about it.
You're absolutely right. So these are individuals who are coming together because they want to ruin what is good for the people, the government that we currently have. And just to remind people about this history, which Doc has mentioned, that the best unity that we ever had was when this government was created. Because in September 2022, when the people went out to denounce La République's occupation of our territory, that was a statement. Okay, that was a resounding referendum right there, telling La République that we don't want you anymore. And then at that time, we had it as it had already left Skakuv and was now governing council. And then on October 1st, when we restored, when Ayuk Tabe made the restoration of the government, then we are a government. And since then, a lot of things have happened with the creation of local government areas and counties, because previously we had mostly the idea of the diaspora in terms of regions. You had the regions in Europe, Asia, and Americas doing what they're supposed to do, mostly in terms of diplomacy. When we got to the point where we started having defense on the ground, because our people were being killed. People should not forget, our people were being killed. People were running for their lives. They were in bushes. That's why we have all these refugees in neighboring countries. They did not just decide to just leave. They were running for their safety. And I think we just have to remind people of this over and over again. Remind them that all these people left because they were running for safety. Their homes had been burned down. Remember all the villages that had been razed down, So all these things happened, and there was need for us to have our own defense. At that time, it was called Amazonia Defense Forces. And the president, in his wisdom, changed it to ASA, Amazonia State Army, or Amazonia State, Army, because we wanted to differentiate ourselves from the group that had mixtures of La Republique, fake army, Amber Boys, all the people that were doing negative things, that were not projecting what we were really there for. So that differentiates us from enemy forces that were really, because if you remember at one time, you had this ADF able to drive in La Republic, drive in Southern Cameroons, without any fear and commit atrocities. Can you see ASA be able to drive and call themselves ASA without La Republic being there to arrest them? So that gives us the, belief that they were really La Republic forces, doing all these atrocities. But I digress. I just want to say that was the best time that we had unity. And the LGA and county structure, which we now have, is the best form of unity. So this talk by this fellow called Mark Barretta, who really doesn't believe in our quest, because if he did, he would be doing things a different way, should tell people to know that you should be careful who you listen to. And this video is just to educate us, because sometimes some people, they don't think beyond what they see, and they just listen to the next thing that comes. You need to think and realize that there is a structure. The government that we had before at one time as an interim government, now is the government of Southern Cameroons in exile, has a structure to prosecute this war till the end. There are certain things that he mentioned that I just want to highlight. He talked about that it has a leadership council, but he didn't mention who those leaders are, because I would have loved to know the names of those who are in that leadership council. Do you want to comment on that? Does anything come to your mind?
Well, I don't go studying it in detail, but I think he mentioned even people like Milan Atan that had defected from, the fight long time ago. Remember, Milan Atan used to work with Ayuk Tabe and went around shortly before Ayuk Tabe was picked up, and he got implicated in even the pickup of the people from Naira 10. I don't want to go into more details about that. So he too is also talking among those people coming together. So we have all kinds of tendencies and groups of people in here with very doubtful backgrounds and motivations that if just looking at the components, you wouldn't want to join them if you have a clean conscience. You know, exactly. That those people, their intentions cannot be clean. They cannot be authentic. They cannot be relied on. They are unreliable. So anyway, that's my take on it. I think it's a mixed bag. Some of it is controlled by La Republique. I think some people who are just honestly deceived and think that there's something there. There's no there.
There's no there
For
there.
us.
So let me just make this final comment on that. That really, if they really, really believe in unity, and they're really genuine in making us push forward, all they have to do is go join their LGAs and counties and work within those structures. That's the simplest thing to do. So, Mark Beretta, whether I don't know what county you're from or what LGA, go look for that LGA and county and join and start doing work for the people within that structure. So to Milam Atam, whatever LGA you belong to, go back and find the leadership and join and say, I want to do ABC. But you know what? I even think that there's a bigger way. And I think this idea came from you a long time ago. I need to see these people pull their financial resources together, because our government has done a lot financially. Year in, year out, we've been doing drafting, getting money that we've been paying for lobbyists to do certain things for us. We've been paying for our ASA, to defend our territory, and taking care of our refugees and prisoners of conscience during Christmas. So we've had that structure. I need to see all these little groups that are there. What have they done? Let them show us the capital that they've raised, because money talks. And then better yet, it's another challenge for them, Let them pool their resources. Let them pull their resources together. They think they are strong, and go get us lobbies that can go to the United States and lobby for the people of Amazonia. Then I will know that they are speaking. I will know that they are speaking, because they will show that they have the funds to do this and they can do it. So with that said, let me end this right here. The caution is that Southern Cameroonians, Amazonians, don't be deceived by individuals like this. Stay within the confines of your government, your LG, your county, your regions that are all part of this structure, the government of Southern Cameroon in exile, and work within that structure. So if you have any questions, you have any talents to provide, there you are. You will not be lost with going back to SCACUF 2.0. That is really a distraction. Okay, we're going to move to the next topic, if we can change that. We want to talk about La République du Cameroun. That's the main topic for today, really. La République du Cameroon's agreements with France over the years. This big one came to our attention recently. Doc, you're the one who sent it to me, and we tried to, it was in French, and we tried to translate it into English. But I just want to get to the document and read a couple of things. Then I'll ask you some questions. All right, this one is the agreement that was done. Well, we know about the first agreement. We know about the first agreement that we've talked about several times. That was in November. Was it November?
December 26, 1959.
December 26, 1959, just before La République had its independence. We know about that one. I don't know if you want to comment briefly about that one before we go to this main one.
Yeah, we've said in similar programs or other programs about the binding agreement that Ahidjo had to sign with the French before they were allowed to have the fake independence of January 1 of 1966, literally allowing France to control all activities in La République de Cameroon, indirectly keeping them still under subjugation as colonies, but pretending to have had some level of independence. And so if you go and read it, in that agreement that Ahidjo signed, the 10th portion of it said, La République du Cameroon had to renounce any military alliance with other countries unless authorized by France, military. And then it also said, La République du Cameroon had the obligation to join France, ally with France in any future wars, global wars or global crisis that must go along with France. So that was the military agreement that Ahidjo signed in those days. And then, of course, 50 years later, in 2009, there was a renewal, which we want to bring to the attention of our people to realize that they went even deeper further than what Ahidjo had signed with them.
Yes. So this one that was done in May of 2009 now with beer, uh, there are like some
Around 28
28,
points. Or
28, 28 articles, which we cannot really go through, but we'll just do the highlights, and it's always good to start with the introductory statement. So let me just read that quickly, and then we'll go through the articles. It says, the government of the French Republic, on the one hand, and the government of the Republic of Cameroon, on the other hand, hereinafter referred to as the parties, considering the long-standing and deep ties of friendship uniting France and Cameroon, recalling their shared commitment to international law, the Charter of the United Nations, and in particular to the principles of the peaceful settlement of international disputes, resolved to place their cooperation within the framework of the African-European Union Strategic Partnership adopted at the Lisbon Summit of 7 to 9 December 2007 in order to build lasting peace and security in Africa and Europe. Determined in this perspective to operationalize the African peace and security architecture under the leadership of the African Union and to support African mechanisms for collective security and peacekeeping at the continental and regional levels, desiring to deepen their cooperation in defense matters in a partnership based on the principles of mutual respect for the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of both states, have agreed as follows. Article 1, the first article. Let me read this one because it's important, then I'll let you speak, Doc. For the purpose of this agreement, the terms or expressions A, forces, means any corps, contingent, or detachment composed of personnel belonging to the Army and Air Forces and the Navy and the National Gendarmerie and the Joint Support Service. I'm not going to read about personnel or dependent. That is not really important. So that's part of the agreement to define some terms. And then it says, by this agreement and in accordance with their international commitment, the parties engage in the defense partnership to contribute to lasting peace and security on their respective territories and regional environments. Their respective territories and regional environments, to within the framework of the establishment of the African Standby Force. I didn't even know that there was an African Standby Force. The parties may decide by mutual agreement to associate contingents with under the mandate of the United Nations, the African Union, ECOWAS, CEMAC, or any other relevant sub-regional organization, or those of other African states with certain activities initiated under this agreement in consultation with the relevant regional organizations. Doc, let me let you speak now because it really goes by, and then it talks about the principles of defense partnership. And then areas and forms of the defense, the cooperation itself. Let me read the cooperation itself, please. Within the framework of the defense partnership, the parties shall implement cooperation in the following areas: exchange of views and information relating to risk and threats to national and regional security. That's A. B, organization, equipping, and training of forces where appropriate through logistical support and joint exercises. Organization of transit, temporary berthing, air and sea stopovers. The organization and advising of forces implementing training activities, technical support, and the provision of technical military advisors between the two parties. E, training Cameroonian personnel by hosting or admitting them as students or trainees in French military training school supported by France. F, any other activity in the field of defense deciding upon by mutual agreement between the parties based on their mutual interests. What? It's just a lot. What's going on here?
Right. Try to go through the whole article. We'll hopefully have time to dissect it in a way that people will still be interested to listen to the details. But I found some points that I would like to highlight here. Remember, we mentioned under Ahidjo's agreement that they said they had to only collaborate with France in military matters, and they can only collaborate with other countries that France approves, and also that in any global crisis or world war, they must collaborate with France. That's what Ahidjo signed. And of course, they fine-tuned things. In this new article, when I read through, if you go down further, you see that the National Assembly of France also deliberated and approved what is going on. So basically, all the governmental institutions of France are involved here. You have the executive as well as the legislative here. And if you look at that document from the French National Assembly, it says that it is review and revision of the Constitution of 1958. Remember that by 1958, the Republic of Cameroon was not yet independent. So that is something that is enshrined in the French Constitution, what they carry out in Africa. So they reviewed and revised it to perfect it, as they would say. And this is led by the president, by the executive, and brought to parliament by the prime minister as well as the minister of foreign affairs. If you read that portion by the legislature, that they're the ones who brought it and they reviewed and they approved it. I think it was in June or something like that. You will see that later in there. So basically, it's a revision of what France had decided in 1958 before Ahidjo signed his own agreement in 1959, a week before their independence. And then as you go further, as you mentioned in the portion you read, they said that basically there will be the military personnel of La République du Cameroun will be trained by the French and also in French approved military schools. That means everything is under the control of the French. Right. Now, they did mention international organizations. They talked about the Treaty of Lisbon in 2007. Lisbon is the capital of Portugal. Remember that the current Secretary General of the United Nations is from Portugal. And then also they mentioned the United Nations. They talked about the African Union and then regional groups like the CEMAC, which is the Central Economic Community of Central African countries, which includes Cameroon, Chad, Central African Republic, Congo, Gabon, even Equatorial Guinea. And then they talk about West African. So basically what you realize is that all those unions, those groups that they are mentioning there, they collaborate and work together. And if you are not very careful, you may be deceived by the language that they are using because they say they are working for peace. And they're working to strengthen things. So you may be flattered to think that they have good intentions. No, they do not have good intentions. Now, as you read that article in detail, it says that basically the agreement is between France and the country of La République du Cameroon. By extension, you can say also France has done the same thing with other French-speaking countries like Ivory Coast, or, they're angry with the Sahel because the Sahel did not want to respect that military agreement, for example, or many others. So basically, the agreement is with France. And then France says that they have the right to call members of the European Union to join them in their military activities. That means La République is singularly alone, and France, as a partner, is free to even call in other European nations like Germany and Spain and Italy and whoever is in the European Union to join them in these military activities with La République du Cameroun. And if you look at it, you see that it is an asymmetric relationship. France is economically speaking, developmentally speaking, more advanced than La République du Cameroun. And La République du Cameroun is not well developed. So you may think that it's an agreement between two countries respecting their sovereignty, but it's not true. France will do more in Cameroon than La République can individually try to do in France. So if you read the article, it tells you that the personnel are free to come to the other country and they have to expedite their stay. They should own a passport and their visa should be guaranteed. They should have a place to stay and they are free to build infrastructures to use and that the country should also provide them resources and infrastructures, and they're free to bring all equipment that they need to pass without paying customs duties, and then also they're free to operate without supervision in the country, or in the host country, and that they may desire to share some information with the host country, and if they happen to do that, the host country is obliged to keep the secret that they have shared. Now, do you really believe that La Republic can go to France and individually do such things with their military like they are advocating? On the other hand, France will freely do those things in La République du Cameroon. They will come and open their, like they mentioned that the French military attaché in the embassy is the one that La République has to work with, and they can tell La République what they want to do, use their personnel, keep their secret information. They are not obliged to share that secret information they have gathered with La République. But even if they happen to do, La République should never share it with the public. It should be kept a secret. So there is some secret information between the two parties that is not known to the public. And that is where we are coming in to say the implication, what is the implication of that to the population of the people? And the information that I want to highlight, we'll be talking about it, is that this French ambassador of Niger who defected, who was thrown out and wrote a book that was banned by France, the French say he's wrote in there that they were sent to Africa purposefully to introduce and cause confusion, destroy their education, bring terrorism, and they want an Africa without Africans.
Yeah.
So in this military agreement, whatever France is doing in Cameroon is to destroy the Cameroonian society and to destroy the Cameroonian people, to get rid of them, because they want the resources of the land. They don't care about the people. Those are some of the things that I will highlight in there. We can go into more details, but that's how I want to highlight it. It goes back to the original intent of the French agreement with Abiedu in 1959, which was approved by the French Constitution of 1958.
Okay. Yes, I just want to, you mentioned some things that I want to read, to really get the full language of what is said. You talked about exchange of classified and information, and as you said, France and Cameroon. What does France really need from Cameroon other than our resources? That's all they need. They just want access to our resources. But let me read what it says. Exchange of classified information and material. So what is classified in Cameroon that France needs? Or what is classified in France that Cameroon will need, that they're exchanging classified material? The exchange of classified information and material shall be governed by a specific agreement. In the interim, the activities provided for under this partnership shall be implemented in accordance with the following arrangements. 1. The parties shall protect the classified information and materials in which they have access under the agreements in accordance with their respective national regulations. 2. Classified information and materials shall be transmitted only through official channels or procedures agreed upon between the competent authorities of the parties. 3. No classified information or material received by either party under this agreement may be transferred, disseminated, or disclosed in any way to third parties or to persons or entities not authorized by the another party without its prior consent. So just highlighting this particular information that I've read, Doc, is there anything that is classified in France that La Republic will need versus what information that are classified in La Republic that France will be protecting? Can you just...
That's the reason. That's the reason why I was saying it is an asymmetric relationship. It is not a relationship of equal partners where La Republic can truly boldly go to France. I mean, as a government, sending its military or personnel to France and operate there in the same way that France will do in La République du Cameroon. Indirectly, they are just imposing on La République what they should allow the French to do in Cameroon. That's all they're doing. And
Yes.
they are saying here, classified information, that's secret information, information you don't want others to know about, that you don't want them to know, or secrets. That's why you have the secret service. Basically, that's information of the French secret service in Cameroon. If they happen to share any, first of all, they have secret information they will not share with the government. And they are basically saying that if they share any such information with the government has no right to pass it to others that they don't want them to know anything about, like the population. So there is secret information that they are hiding. And the secret of it is basically for its interest. They want to see how to double down on what they had been doing since the so-called independence. Basically ensuring that they continually extract and get full control of everything in the country, disregarding the Africans, because they don't really care about the Africans. As they said, they want an Africa without the French. So that's how I look at that portion. They're just trying to tell La Republic that they can share information with them, and if they happen to, they may not want to share any information with them, and whatever little information they share with them, they have no right to pass it to others. So the government people have some secret information they have received from the French that they will not share with the public. One of them, all the ministers have to sign an agreement with France before they take ministerial office. We had showed in this program before how the Minister of Finance signed literally a pact with the French before he was allowed to become Minister of Finance in the République du Cameroon. So those ministers, they have the agreement, but with the French. But does the public know that? They don't. All they know is that, somebody was made minister of this and minister of that. But that is a secret. They have to have an agreement, but with the French, and France has to approve before the president allows somebody to become a so-called minister. That's just one of them.
Yes. So there were some couple of videos that we saw recently that I would love us to see. But before we see them, let me read this, because what I'm reading now, could be interpreted with the videos that we'll see later on. Movement and circulation of forces. This is Article 19 of still what we're reading. Movement and circulation of forces. The forces of the sending state are authorized to enter the territory of the receiving state, including its territorial waters and airspace, with the latter's prior consent. Each party is responsible for requests for authorization to overfly and land its military aircraft in this receiving state in connection with the performance of the activities provided for in Article 4 of this agreement, which I read earlier. The competent authorities of the receiving state shall issue the necessary authorities for this purpose on a case-by-case basis in accordance with the applicable national regulations. However, regular or periodic flights are subject to annual renewal. These authorizations may be suspended by the receiving state if it is considered that such flights are likely to infringe upon its sovereignty or security. The parties are responsible for requests for authorization to dock, anchor, and transit vessels of their respective navies, issued on the case-by-case basis by the authorities of the receiving state. And then there's importation of equipment. I'd like us to see a video. These are possible pictures, but there's a video of La République Army just recently, a tank recently in our territory. And then there's also a video of gunshots. If those videos are ready, this is the time. The reason is
live in Bamenda now.
Yes, and then there's another one too that so you want to comment on this video before we see the next one?
Yeah, so basically this was in Bamenda. You see how La Republique came with military tanks, went around shooting and terrorizing the population. Who is terrorizing? I mean, what is terror? You have a peaceful group of people sitting quietly in their home, not causing trouble, and somebody comes to frighten them and terrorize them. That's what you see La Republique military doing here in Bamenda. They go around with this military tank, shooting through the neighborhood and frightening people to stay in their homes and afraid of coming out because they may be killed. So now we talk about terrorists. These are the terrorists. Now, so France can come to Cameroon and do that. You know, they can come to your country by that agreement and do that to subdue the people and subjugate them. But do you believe that La Republique can go to France, to Paris, and do that? La Republique cannot go to France and operate militarily there for its own personal interest. But France can come to Cameroon and do that. That's why they said they were trained to introduce terrorism in Africa. That's what they are doing. The other video will show you how the population say at the funeral. If we can see that, you will see how the people were at the funeral ceremony trying to bury somebody who had died, you know, their mourning, and the military was shooting like you saw there and fighting them, and they were hiding in the bushes. Can we see that, please? If they can put it up. I hope they can get that video up.
Yeah, I'm sure they have it. If we can see the video where people are hiding due to fear for their lives. Let me just remind
So
them.
basically, the French are saying that they are free to come in and operate militarily at their will and pleasure and leisure without obstruction by what they call the host country. They can do that in La République, but La République cannot do that in France. You know, and now when you hear the ministers who I said have signed agreements with France to protect their interests in La République du Cameroun, saying that everything is fine in Bamenda, this was recent. Is that fine? Is that a normalized situation in Bamenda where people will come and say everything is fine now, there's no war there and that kind of thing? No, everything is not fine. Even recently, the Republic military went to Nkwen and gathered groups of boys, many of them, like 12 or more, in several groups. And then we're carrying the dead bodies to the provincial hospital, and you don't know how many have been killed and buried or thrown into bushes, where their bodies were not even carried to the mortuary. So they're picking up young people, particularly males, that they are afraid may stand up against them and killing them, which is what they have always done. They select out the males and kill them, rape the females, and they'll get away with this. If we can see that video, you would see how people were at the funeral trying to mourn their family member, living their normal lives in the village. And even in that emotional distress situation, the military was terrorizing them by shooting around, and they literally were hiding in the bushes for their own personal life protection. Okay. Anyway.
Hopefully the video will come up soon. We'll just continue speaking. The video that we just saw with the tank, in the street somewhere in Bamenda there, and a few people walking in front, just still their own military personnel walking. You rightfully said those are tactics to terrorize the people, to make them afraid. And this is all because of their need to control us. We, Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, we know where we came from. We've learned of the history. We know what we want. And tactics like this will come and go, but our resolve is permanent. We will not be deterred from what we are seeking. There's this other article. As soon as the video comes up, I will stop speaking. I hope they're able to play it. There's other articles still in the defense accord between Republic of France and La République du Cameroon. Article number 20, importation of equipment. The host state shall take the necessary measures to facilitate the entry into and exit from its territory of equipment, financial
I think they're
resources.
trying to play that video. They're trying to
There
play
you go.
that video now.
Okay.
I thought
Oh.
As you can see, people, serious gunshot. Cow Street is here. As you can see, people are all on the ground. People are all on the ground. A burial location, funeral location. People, everybody is sleeping. Serious gunshot. Serious gunshot. Cow Street is here. As you can see, people are all on the ground. People are all on the ground. A burial location, funeral location. People, everybody is sleeping. Serious gunshot.
Well, that's really a shame. Go ahead.
So, are these people lying on the ground terrorists? Have they been going around causing disorder? No. But the military that was running those tanks and shooting around are the terrorists. Those military are being guided by the French, the military attaché in the French embassy, being advised and guided, just like you see these La République troops here. They are the true terrorists terrorizing the population, even at the funeral. So that is the situation that we are living through here. And that is the consequence or the implication on the lives of the people of that so-called agreement that we're talking about here. And the goal of that agreement is basically to accomplish what the French want. They want an Africa without Africans so they can continue to exploit the resources of the land.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I want to read this comment that came through Facebook by Barrister they say hi. I said the whole agreement is, which is what you've already said, the whole agreement is one-sided. It's a one-sided agreement. Cameroon has no military aircraft that can land anywhere in France. Neither does she have any warships to anchor in France. So I don't know why they were signing something like this. France considers that agreement to be a treaty. That's why the legislature had to approve it. I doubt if the Yaoundé legislature ever ratified the agreement. Those are just some comments by our lawyers. Look at that. So I was just about to read this before the video came up. And let me just say something about the video. It's so sad, just can you imagine you're at a funeral to lay to rest a loved one, and you get terrorized, because that's the best word to describe what is going on, and you have to run, literally run, to hide, to protect yourself, run for your safety, and leave the corpse there, the coffin there, till things calm down before you proceed with the burial. That is so wrong. That should not be happening in our country, And this is all because of all these military agreements that La République has with France. They feel confident. They are really confident that they can do anything with impunity. Who's gonna talk about? Who's gonna punish them or hold them accountable? No one. France is their master. Whatever France says goes. We don't want that. That's one of the reasons Southern Cameroon and Bosnia is in this journey. We don't want anything to do with France. If French Cameroon wants to that, that's their business. That's their business. Remember, all these treaties or agreements, the first ones were signed when we were not even part of, we not had a federation. And then the second one came after they dissolved our federal system and imposed the unity system, and then reverted back to their old name, Federal Republic of Cameroon. So this agreement is between the old name, La République du Cameroun, and France. So what about us, the people of Southern Cameroons? Why should we be subjugated to all this every year? Doc, any more comments on this?
Well, like you rightly said, legally speaking, the agreement Ahidjo signed on December 26th of 1959 did not include the people of the former British Southern Cameroon, because we got our independence on October 1, 1961. So we were not there. Also, after we were compelled by Andrew Cohen manipulating the United Nations to decide either to join Nigeria or La République du Cameroun, and Ahidjo deceived us to believe that it would be a better option for us to join them because we'll be a federation of two equal states than being a small region in Nigeria. And we thought we were making a better choice by joining La République. Our forefathers went to Ahidjo, that is Foncha, Endele, Joa, Mona, and the others in those days, and told him that they do not want the people of the former British Southern Cameroon to be bound by those agreements that Ahidjo signed with the French in 1959.
Mm-hmm.
So our forefathers rejected those agreements. And like you rightly said, they have manipulated, and in their small wisdom, they thought that they went back to their country, which was, they referred back to La République du Cameroun, which was the nation that came with Ambazonian or the former British Southern Cameroon informant to form some kind of agreement. So when Biya reverted back to that name, I think it was 1984 or 1985, one of those years, he thought they had consumed us. But legally speaking, which is what Dinka was saying, I mean, the guy who started the Ambazonian conflict then after Ahidjo started, he told him that, be logical to yourself. If you revert back to what you were before we met in Fumban, pull your administration and your troops to your internationally recognized boundary, because you have literally just said that you have seceded from the Union. So it is La République that seceded from the Union.
Yeah.
So now that they are still operating under that name of La République du Cameroun now, when he signed this agreement in 2009, it means that it is La République du Cameroun that signed the agreement with France and not the children of Ambazonia. That is the legal implication, if you want to be honest, sincere, and truthful. Ambazonia was never involved in the agreements in 1959, and even in this renewed agreement, Ambazonia is not, the children of British Cameroon have not been involved and are not part of it.
That's a great point. You're absolutely right, because you look at the names of the signatories, and we are not part of it. That is a great point to remember. Okay, let me read this Article 23 still of the Accord. It has to do with communication. Communication is very important. Any installation of communication systems by the armed forces of the sending state is subject to prior authorization by the receiving state. Installation requests are received favorably by the competent authorities of the receiving state. Their construction, maintenance, and the use are carried out under conditions agreed upon by the parties within the framework of a specific technical agreement as defined in Article 4.2. The armed forces of the sending state use only the frequencies allocated to them by the authorities of the receiving state. The procedures for allocating and returning frequencies are determined by mutual agreements between the parties. The parties cooperate to ensure that the use of the frequencies allocated to them does not interfere with local transmissions. Communication system installations approved by receiving state may not be used for purpose other than for those for which they were authorized. What is your thought about this communication? Because I think it has to do with military communication or to disperse.
Basically, they want a protected communication among themselves, and they have
Yes.
the right to pass on those secret dealings, and La Republic will be forced to give them permission to do that. And again, like I mentioned, it's an asymmetric relationship. It's like an adult making an agreement with a 2-year-old baby. The 2-year-old baby does not understand what the agreement is all about, and just says yes when you give them candy, and that way you sell off your rights, your birthrights, and that's what's going on here. They're deceiving La République du Cameroon and forcing them to give them all what they need to do what they want freely, uninterrupted, unsupervised in the country. And so communication is one of them. That's what they're trying to say there.
Okay, and then let me read this part of it. I don't know if I read it before. No, I probably not. Missions in support of French forces.
Mm-hmm.
The logistics mission organizes air, sea, and surface transit operations for freight, administrative and custom operations, monitoring of loading and unloading, handling, storage, security, escort requests. For sensitive equipment and convoy tracking, container, yard management, and personnel accommodation, food, transport. The French party will communicate, among other information, the origin, destination, and route within Cameroon
Let them go on.
territory.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. The French party will communicate, among other information, the origin, destination, and route within Cameroon territory of French military personnel and equipment. This communication may be accompanied, where applicable, by a detailed transit plan describing all these operations when they are staggered over time. It makes direct purchases of food and equipment for the benefit of the air forces. It contracts with civilian transport companies or uses French military resources to ensure the transit referred to in paragraph 1 of this article. So if you're back on, this logistics, as we already saw, is really one-sided because all these equipments being brought into our territory to be used on our people is not the same thing that we have to take into France. So I don't know if you were listening to that, what I just read.
I listened and I had read it too. Basically, all they're saying is that they have a free hand to bring whatever equipment they have to use on our people any way they want. If you remember with the Amazonian War, that they were coming with French, you saw whites, Caucasians,
Yes.
working with La République military in Amazonian territory when they were burning our villages. You saw them carrying not only dogs that were sniffling and going around, but they were using drones, sophisticated technology. And
Yes.
drones is just one of them. There are many others. So they are free to bring those things and use it, manipulate all over the territory without monitoring or any observation. If you actually read further, you will realize what they do with dead bodies, which is why they were making sure that they secure all the dead bodies and carry them, because some whites were killed, some francophones were killed. So they even go as far as saying that if their troops happen to die in the host country, as they call it, they must ensure that the body is preserved and that they do an autopsy, and that the other country has the right to monitor the autopsy, and they have to gather the data and preserve the body and carry it back to their country. So you really believe that a lot of military will go and die in France? And then they will do all of that and really get La République and send a doctor from La République to go and monitor the French doctors doing an autopsy while the person died, and then preserve the body and then ship it back to La République du Cameroon. No, they don't care about that. They are just protecting French troops who come to La République, do their mischief, do the bad things that they were sent there for, which is to kill our people, destroy them, in order to confiscate the land for their wealth, for their own benefit. That's all it is, because they say they want an Africa without the French. I mean, the Africa without Africans. So they're free to come and operate, do whatever they want, and if something happens to them, their bodies should be preserved and protected and carried back. And that's why you see La Republic carrying helicopters everywhere. When some of them fall, they make sure that they preserve the body and carry it. They don't even care about the dark-skinned La Republic citizens, some of who are deceived Ambazonians who joined them to fight for them. They don't really care about them. They were just trying to protect the Caucasians, the whites, the French people, make sure that they retrieve their bodies and send them back to France. And that's why they're saying that they should be protected. Anyway, I brought that forward just to buttress the point that they are free to come in, do whatever they want, and leave, even as dead people, well protected and preserved in dignity. That's what they're saying.
Yes. We're going to be ending this program soon. I got to hurry up and rush to work. That's my life on Friday. So I try to do the program in the morning, and then I go to work later on. I want to give you an opportunity to give some concluding top talks. But before I do that, let me read the part that it has to say. It has to do with the entry into force of the article. So, of the accord. So Article 28, entry into force, amendments, and termination. Each party shall notify the other of the completion of the constitutional procedures required for the entry into force of this agreement, which shall take effect on the first day of the second month following the date of receipt of the last notification. This agreement is concluded for a period of 5 years. It shall be tacitly renewed for further periods of 5 years unless one of the parties notifies the other of its intention to terminate the agreement 6 months before its expiry. The parties may at any time and by mutual agreement amend this agreement in writing. Each party may denounce this agreement by means of written notification. Such denunciation shall take effect 6 months after receipt of the notification by the other party. The denunciation of this agreement shall not affect any rights or obligations arising from its performance prior to such denunciation. In witness whereof, the duly authorized representative of both parties have signed this agreement. Done at Yaoundé, May 21st, 2009, in 2 originals in French and 2 originals in English, both versions being equally authentic. So in French, for the French government, French Republic, signed by the Francophonie, Jean-Marie Bocquer. For the government of the Republic of Cameroon, the minister delegate in the presidency in charge of defense, Remy Zach Mecca. So, this was 2009. What is going on since then?
Well, you notice they said that it will be enforced for 5 years and is renewable. That's automatically renewable, unless the other party were to write and say that we don't want to continue and give good reasons and for 6 months, which La Republic will not do. And that is what gives Biya his power, because he continues to allow the French to continue doing what they are doing. The French want him. They allow him to rig elections, stay in power, use his own natives as military people, predominantly Betibulus, as military people to suppress the population, kill them, tell lies. And as long as they allow the French to have a free hand to do whatever they want, France stays quiet. That means it does not say what you're doing is bad. It does not say we condemn the theft of this election. It just stays quiet as long as, and see how things are going, and then manipulating the system to maintain control. And if Biya controls, fine. And in the background, as you may have heard, they're also negotiating with Chiroma, for example, so that if Chiroma happens to agree to allow these things and they realize that the other side is losing, then they will just come with Chiroma and continue what they're doing. That's why the only statements you may hear France say is they will say things like they are for the population of the country. So you don't see them supporting the mischief of the Saint Biya government. And then if they happen to come through Chiroma, because Chiroma seem to have won and people think that he is their choice, then at least they allow him. But because Biya is at least allowing them to do their mischief and continuing these kinds of agreements, they allow his theft of election results to continue. And then they allow him to displace Chiroma and keep him on the side. And which is basically what is going on. This is what gives Biya his power, because he can give to France anything that France wants, and any other collaborating partners around the world. It's not just the French. Any other person that wants to take the goodies of Cameroon, Biya will give them as long as they allow him to stay in power. And they too, you hear them say things like, "We work with the government in place." They don't condemn it. They say, we congratulate him for his inauguration. And then they claim that they did not say they congratulate him for winning the election. They only congratulated him for his inauguration. And then we work with the government in place. That is the hypocrisy of the so-called international community, which you heard the French say in there. That is the European Union, the United Nations, the African Union, which you know is toothless and says nothing, controlled by the French. In fact, the bills of the African Union are paid by the French. So how do you expect the African Union to speak when their raison d'etre is money provided by the French? So the French have it in their pocket. And then the so-called regional groups like the CEMAC and the West African and all the others, those are the so-called international community that we think we're looking up to condemn wrongdoing on the land. But do you ever see anything happening? You don't, because they are all controlled in those secret agreements, in those secret talks, those things that they don't want the public to know. And in the final analysis, if you go to the imperialist agenda that we talked about before, they want to keep third world countries in abject poverty and suffering and use dictators and puppets to basically siphon all the resources and wealth back to the other countries and keep us poor. And so they are accomplishing their goal. Those international organizations are just used to do what they are doing. But even then, in the final analysis, they are not going to succeed. I know it sounds strange. Even then, in the final analysis, they are not going to succeed, because we were created by a superior being, a God himself, for a purpose, and he loves us, and we are in his image, and he has a master plan for us, and he hates what is wrong, and will ensure that we emerge out of all of this. When all is said and done, we will emerge victorious and actualize what we have all been aspiring for, and those people will lose it. It's just a matter of time.
Thank you so much. When you're talking about it, I just wanted to check something first before I say it, because sometimes something just comes to my mind, but I want to make sure that my facts are right. So you're talking about this is really God ordained. God has already God already knows when we will have our freedom. I just want to find, maybe you know the answer to this. How long did apartheid exist in South Africa?
It actually came to full force around 1928. I mean, in the 1920s, with the real apartheid that was about all around the world. They had the whites, whether the Dutch or eventually the British, had been in South Africa before, you trying to get minerals and things like that. But when they really implemented the racist tendencies of undermining the blacks and looking down on them, and using the political force and military force of the minority whites to control them, it came up around 1920s, if you like to read. But as you know, eventually it came to an end when Nelson Mandela became president around 1994. And before that, Frederick de Klerk said that, they cannot keep up with this. The minority cannot keep using the gun to control and rule the majority, and they had to give in eventually.
Yes.
They're still controlling South Africa economically, but that's a different story. Anyway, just coming out of my mind right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's how long it lasted.
I brought that up because when people fight for their rights, and the truth is on their side and God is on their side, the end result is that they win, the people win, and they answer the question. So it's like for the something years. I mean, it really started, according to what I just looked, really started maybe in the 20s, but when it was really pronounced was from 1948 to 1994. Our journey, although we were misled in 1961 with that fake federation, we really started pushing for this in 84. That's when you started having all this, after the federation was really nullified, and you started having people with a vision that something is wrong here. We want to go back. We want to be our own people. So in terms of time, time is on our side. We should not have this notion that it's been too long and we've not gotten our land. In terms of the immediate push, the immediate push really started in 2016. So it hasn't been quite 10 years yet. It will be 10 years next year. That was the immediate push when the teachers and lawyers went on a strike. And then in 2017, there was a bold move for us to be our own interim government. And then later on, several years later on, now government in exile. So the point of this, and then thinking about the United States, how slavery was there for over 400 years. It took only till the 19th centuries for this to be abolished, for people to have the freedom. So we're in this country now enjoying freedom. But when we hear of stories of how people were treated, where Black people could not even enter buses, the same bus with white people, it sounds like ancient history, but it's not too long ago. But look at what is happening now. You know, it's not quite the best yet, but Blacks have made gigantic moves, in being able to show that they are equal. We were created, every human being was created in God's image. We're all the same. So this is just to tell our people that you may be saying that this has taken so long, that you're tired. Don't give up. Don't be weary. There's an end plan all there for us to see the fruition. We already pray that it happens in our own generations, that we enjoy the fruit of our labor. But even if it doesn't, the groundwork has been laid for future generations to continue until that freedom is achieved. So, Doug, let me have you give your closing remarks. If you want to touch a little bit about the fake unity and then this agreements, I would love your closing remarks as we end to this program.
Yeah, so thank you very much again for the opportunity to come to this program to talk to our people. Like we've said, there's that which is genuine and that which is false. And same thing with the Unity Warriors. There is the genuine unity, which we saw, as I said, on September 22nd of 2017, when our people came out in good conscience, in good faith, as one, to demonstrate that we reject what the Republic is doing to us. We said our forefathers even told them we disagree with the agreement you signed with the French before we came to talk to you in Fumban. And God would have it, La République sign or renew the agreement as La République du Cameroun, not as the union of the two countries, because BS has ceded from the union when he went back to his original name before we talked in Fumban. So we're not with them, in spite of the fact that they try to impose themselves and feel like they control us. And now they go around trying to compromise people. So what appears to be one is not always the same. It's not truly one. The intention, the motivations are not clean. And that which is true, as I said, the narrower path leads to heaven. The broad path that everybody takes goes to hell. So the fact that you can just see the large group of mingled, all kinds of people in there, those led by La République and those with self-interest. We don't have any interest of being anything important anywhere. We just happen to be alive, and God is using us to do some few things. And whether we become something or not doesn't really matter. We just want to do God's perfect will and be on the right side of history and not telling lies. Anyway, so too with the so-called agreement. Whatever the French have done, tricking Ahidjo, or we were tricked by the British in collaboration with the French, and the people all around the world who are looked upon as the international community, continuing to trick and deceive, buying off the clergy, bribing them like Kea and the others. Don't worry. With time too, they are not continually being exposed like this election exposes the theft and shows who is on the right side and who is on the wrong side. But with time as well, they too will perish, just as when sunlight, the truth comes up, darkness, the falsehood must disappear. So with time, they too will be wrapped up into the dustbin of history. That's what I'm going to say here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doc. Well, fellow viewers, listeners, I want to appreciate you for always coming to be part of our program, The Horizon. We do our best to share with you relevant information to make sure you understand why this journey is really God ordained, why this push to liberate our land, so that we all long for that happiness. We all push for that happiness that each individual deserves. And we always like to remind everyone that don't ever forget about those who are war victims. We've had refugees, as I mentioned all the time, IDPs. We've had our daughters, sons killed, more than 60,000 killed. These are all of a result of the war. If we were really people that were respected and loved by La République du Cameroon, none of this would have happened. They would have found a better way to solve the problem, not leash lethal weapons on us, which is what has caused us to be where we are today. So I'm just appealing to those who are claiming that they want some sort of unity under the umbrella of SCACUF. Please don't be deceived. The best unity is under a government. We've restored our nation. We've restored our government. How can you leave that and go backwards? It's forward. You push forward. You don't go behind. But if these so-called people that are pushing for SCACUF really believe that they have something to give, then I just have one request of them. I just have one request of them. Let them gather their resources together. Gather their resources together and go lobby the United States for them to listen to us. Then I will say they've done something. Okay? Let them gather their resources and go get some lobbies that will listen to us and to say, oh, it's because of SCACUF too that we've gathered our funds and we have these lobbies that are listening to us now and making changes. Then I'll say, oh, now we are talking. But until then, please don't disrupt what is there now. Don't disrupt what is working. Because believe it or not, if we didn't have the structure that we have right now, if we didn't have President Sako and his team, LGA county chairs or coordinators, members of the different commissions working in various forms to make sure that we get somewhere, then we'll all be at a stalemate. Would have been at a stalemate long time ago, or would have just been decapitated a long time ago when Siseko Ayuk was arrested and nobody took over. Do you know that? If that had been the case, nobody would be talking about anything right now. It would have just been a dead thing, although you believe that you have the right to own your land based on history, based on the truth. So I want to thank you for being here to watching our program, and we pray that with God's grace, we'll be back next Friday. Everything is God's grace. Have a great weekend, and thank you so much. Bye for now.